You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, and more. Cryptocurrencies and other digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity. Provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments on everything from coins to tokens, futures, and even OTC options. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody, that music means, yes, we're back in the studio for the Crypto Rundown. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting The Options Insider Radio Network. Hope you guys have had a chance to kick the tires over there and light the fires. Much more radio-centric design these days, make it even easier for what you guys want, which is to get over there, get all the media, of course, all the articles, all the other fun stuff. It's still there, too, the news, breaking news from the options market, all that good stuff. So check it all out. The website, theoptionsinsider.com. I'm getting distracted by all this furious action over here in the realm of crypto. Going to do another quick hit for you this week. We are back in the studio. We're still getting things situated back from our travel down to the southern studio and getting all of our guests' schedules coordinated as well. So we'll be back with a full crypto rundown this time next week. Listeners, but we couldn't leave you hanging. Wanted to hit you up, particularly now that it seems like the live stream is working again. So you guys can join us there as well. And of course, wherever you like after the fact on your provider of choice. But let's get rolling with a little bit of the old Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trading activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown. This is, of course, a portion of the show where we break down the trading activity and the options and the volatility and the skew and all that good stuff in the most popular, most liquid crypto market. That is, of course, Bitcoin. Coming into the show here, we're seeing Bitcoin on another little nice rally here. Last week at this time, we're at right around the 11,000 level, about 11,070 or so. And coming into the show today, we're seeing about an 800-point rally from there. 11,876 is where we are coming into the start of the show here. A lot of that, about 500 points of that or so, coming pretty much in the after hours last night there. A nice rally on the European hours. So looking to threaten that 12,000 level again. Hasn't hit it, at least today, but still a good rally, up about 417 points net today. Again, a lot of that coming in the after hours time frame here. But let's get into all the good data. Of course, a lot of this coming from our friends over there at SKU, sk3w.c. I'll have to get them back on the show again because they're really working on a lot of cool stuff over there, and we use them so much on the show. We might as well get them back in to tell you, give you a bit of an update on all the cool data they have over there. But if you're checking it out over there, you'll see that, of course, it is another active period. It shouldn't surprise you. Realized volatility in the Bitcoin options is pretty much, and in Bitcoin itself, of course, is pretty much just off the charts. Last week at this time, we were at about, we had rallied 2 weeks ago was 65%. Again, this is 30 days, so 1 month realized volatility. Not implied, listeners, but realized, aka historical. It was at a 90%, so it had gapped up to a 90% last week. Coming into showtime today, it is at nearly 120%, about 119% coming into showtime. So big move, big swing out there. Again, not surprising. We're seeing 500 handle swings just in the last few hours there. So it has been moving. What hasn't been moving, though, ironically, are the options. It's been pretty light volume-wise over there on Deribit since our last show. We're seeing most of the days pretty much well shy of that 30 million level, which is kind of our benchmark, our barometer for whether things are really active out there. In fact, the biggest day was last week on our show, about 80 million contracts, or $80 million worth of contracts, I should say, changing hands, the notional out there on the first. Every other day since that over the past week was pretty light. 65 was probably the next best. That was on the second, immediately after that. So that blush of volume we saw on the first and the second was kind of lighting it up. Then it kind of trailed off down to about 35 million again on the fourth, which is, again, not surprising. It was a holiday week, of course, and hit about what was that? About 12 million on the 6th. So again, light volume days over the course of the past week. We'll see if that ticks up of late. Looking out here to the term structure, again, this is the implied term structure across the months. You see a nice spike up to about the peak of that curve seems to be out there in a couple weeks into July, the 26th. So towards the end of July there, that's where it hits. Looks like about close to 100, about a 98 or so. On this chart, then it kind of comes back off down again. Again, not a ton, goes down to 97 all the way out to September. So that vol remains pretty firm out through Q3, but still interesting to see. And then get down to December, it drops all the way down to a paltry 96. So again, it's pretty heavy, pretty volatile. Again, you're going to see roughly 120% realized volatility. You're probably going to see some pretty strong implied as well. In fact, that implied versus realized gap, this is interesting. The data they have here is for comparing 3 months. Obviously, we're talking 1 month before, so 3 months is a little bit of a long time frame, I think, to look at realized, but still, they map that gap of implied versus realized over there at SKU. And right now, it's at about a half a point, which is kind of interesting. The realized vol for the past 3 months they're looking at here is this is daily realized vol. So again, that's why it's going to be a smaller number. Is about a 4.5% versus the daily implied is at about a 5%. Looks like that gap peaked back on the 26th of June when the daily implied realized for 3 months. I know it's confusing. 3 months daily. It's a lot of time frames thrown in there, but it's at about a 6% versus about 4.4%. For the daily realized. So only about a 1.5%, 1.6% gap on its highest of late. So the chasm between realized versus implied is maybe not as big as some people might assume out there. Let's go over there to the call to put ratio. That's been a hot topic of late. Briefly, ever so briefly, remember, listeners, when we were coming back off that 14,000 range and ranging back down to the downside, down to 10,000, the puts were leading the dance. It was the put to call ratio. Now it's back again to a healthy call to put. This time, last show, let's see exactly where were we. We were at about 65% that had come up from the week before when it was at pretty much 47% for the calls, so about a 53% for the puts. Then it was back up 65% for the calls. This week, it looks like it's pretty much in line at about a 66% here for the calls this week. So not a lot of change there, again, because we're kind of at similar levels. We're a little bit higher, but we haven't seen the explosive 3,000-point swings in one direction like we did over the course of the past few weeks. Open interest, also an interesting one to watch out there. Remember, it spiked. It got up to its high back in June of, let's see, what was that number? I think it was 635. Yeah, 635 million. That was a few weeks ago. Last week, it was 403 million. This week, coming into showtime, we're seeing the open interest. Again, this is on the major platform at Deribit. There's others, BitMEX and others. We're just looking at Deribit for now. It is down to about 386 million. So OI coming off a little bit. Speaking of open interest, let's see what's lighting things up on the Bitcoin futures front over there at CME Group. Coming into showtime here, listeners, we're seeing those futures at about a 12,120 on that front month July contract, up about 835 handles just today. So big swings out there in the futures. Not seeing commensurate volume out there. About 3,000 contracts on the tape coming into showtime. 3,100 to be precise in that front contract. You add up all the other months, you're at about a 3,500 contracts. Again, that's nowhere near the 20 to 30,000 they've been doing of late. Still, that's a 5X contract, so it's about 15,000 coins, but still, it's not the record numbers we've been seeing of late. And that's kind of in line with what we saw over the past week. We're light holiday trading week here, at least in the U.S., and commensurately light volume on the options. Probably going to see similar levels out there on the futures. Speaking of the futures, a lot of you guys have been hitting us up of late wanting to know, hey, what's up with other products out there, other futures products. I've been saying for a while, it seems like CME, if you read the tea leaves out there, it seems like they're indicating that they're probably going to go for an ETH future next before they do something like a Bitcoin options. I know personally, I and a lot of you out there would like to see some Bitcoin options. It seems like we're probably going to get an ETH future. It looks like some more indications may have come down that way over the past week. They have changed their reference rate that they offer that is tied to Ether. It's going to change now to ItBit. they're going to get the data out of ItBit as well as Bitstamp and Kraken. Remember, they do these reference rates that try to aggregate the prices across a broad variety of venues. They do that with their Bitcoin reference rate now, which is where their futures are priced off of. It seems like they're doing something similar here for their Ether reference rate. And it seems like if they're doing this, they're putting this work into maybe modernizing, updating their Ether reference rate. It's not a far leap to think that an ETH future is down the road. I know a lot of you out there would like that. That is, in terms of your feedback, definitely the clear number two for what you guys like to trade out there. You'd love to have a listed product out there you could trade in a regulated venue here in the U.S. That seems like that may be coming. And who knows? Hopefully, if that comes, maybe that'll open the floodgates to more products out there coming from CME and others. Speaking of other products and altcoin, let's get into it in a little bit of the old Altcoin Universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the Altcoin Universe.
All right, everybody, let's boldly venture into the old Altcoin Universe. Remember, these market cap numbers we're going to start off with here, take them with a bit of a grain of salt, maybe a hefty tablespoonful of salt, because we talked about it before. There's a lot of debate over these numbers, but I think ranking-wise, they'll stay the same. But maybe a lot of these numbers here could be going away in terms of overall numbers, but still, it's kind of the lingua franca of the crypto space right now, so we're going to grow with it. Number one, of course, still from market cap, still Bitcoin, the recent rally, putting it up over 200 billion, 210 billion coming into showtime. Number two, the aforementioned ETH, about 32.75 billion out there. Number three, good old Ripple, aka XRP, at about 16 billion. Number four, Litecoin, about 7.5 billion. Number five, Bitcoin Cash, about 7.3 billion out there. Remember, those numbers, take them with a grain of salt. Let's look out here, but what's going on more in the price action over there in the altcoin since our last show? We were just talking ETH, so let's start there. Last show, listeners, we were at 282. We had dropped from 310 all the way down to 282. Coming into showtime, we pretty much made most of that back at about a 306.5 coming into showtime here. So not exactly a sad time for all you ETH bulls out there. I know you are many. I know you are legion out there. So all the sell-off we saw last week, most of that mitigated. So good news, maybe some of that perhaps buoyed by this rumor of an impending ETH future, helping to give a little bit of lift to the marketplace out there. Let's keep on rolling out there. XRP, one of my favorites out there in the altcoin universe. I know it's had some problems, but it's one we like to watch out there. Let's see. Last week, we had dropped from a 46 cents all the way down back into the 30 handle, back down to 39 cents. Let's see how we're faring this week. And coming into showtime, we're pretty much unched. We're at about a 39 cents. It's threatening to break into 40, but it hasn't quite done it yet. So still at 39 cents coming into showtime here this week. So XRP, Ripple bulls, at least for the time being, got to take a bit of a break. Maybe next week. will be the time. Let's move on over to Litecoin. We talk about Litecoin. Litecoin has been kind of just the percentage big mover for a while now. For Q1, it was the leader. We'll have to crunch the numbers on Q2 to see what is the big winner. But Litecoin was certainly up there on a percentage basis. Big swings. Last week, it had dropped from 134 down to 114. This week, getting some of that back, not quite all. It was at 114, up about 6 handles, almost 7 this week, almost at 121, at about a 120.75 or so coming into showtime. So a nice little lift here. Not quite getting all of it back, but a nice little lift. Again, they can't all be explosive upside weeks. That's pretty good. Take your 6, almost 7 handles and run out there. And of course, last week as well, a big mover to the downside was Bitcoin Cash. It had dropped from 472 all the way down to 395 on last week's show. Coming into this week, we're seeing it get a little bit of that back. Looks like we're getting about 16 handles or so. We're at about a 411, almost 412 coming into showtime, up from 395 this time last week. So again, most of the major products are up, certainly up from last show. XRP is kind of the one lone hold out there where we're seeing pretty much unched from this time last week. I'm looking here at your questions really quickly. We've got a bunch of good tabled ones I want to save for when we have some guests on to talk about their various platforms out here on which we'll be back to next week, listeners. So stay tuned for all of that good stuff. Meanwhile, though, I have to keep on rolling. We have other stuff going on here in the studio. I want to make sure you guys out there on the crypto front got a little bit of a taste of the old crypto love. We'll be back with a full show next week. Meanwhile, stay tuned to the network all week. We'll be back in the studio. We'll have all of our shows firing on all cylinders this week. So stay tuned for it, and we'll see you back here next week for more of the Crypto Rundown.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.